Hello everybody, today I am going to be ranking the stories from Doctor Who Season 10, Jon Pertwee, Katie Manning in Doctor Who. If you have yet to see this season of the show, there are going to be some mild spoilers in this thing. I'm not going to get too deep into exactly what happens, but I will mention if there is a noteworthy event, so if you don't want to know anything like that, then maybe don't watch this ranking. And also, this one might not align with your views on the season. It probably won't be that far off, but because these are all subjective opinions, there's naturally going to be variance from person to person, and as long as we're both having fun and aware of that, that is absolutely okay. And with all that said, let's get started ranking the 5 stories from Doctor Who Season 10. Frontier in Space is a fun adventure story where you just go around to all of these different locations with all of these different characters and just have a blast. I enjoyed the presence that the Master had in this one. I think Roger Delgado is really good in his final performance in the part. It is a shame that he didn't get to come back after this, but I like this as his final story because he's just good within here. The dynamic between him and the Doctor and Jo Grant works as well as it ever has, and it's just thoroughly entertaining to see all that play out across this 6-episode story. Sure, maybe it's a little longer than it needs to be, but I think they do enough within here to make that worthwhile, because you have so much fun, or at least I do, going through all these different locations, and I also enjoy the space politics that we get in here with the Draconians and the Orgons, I believe they're called, and you have some relatively unique ideas in here which I think are well handled, and I just think that this one does a lot right and very little wrong, because I just find it to be a whole lot of fun.
Here goes. Yes, well, I think we'll sit here for a while after all.
The Green Death is a really enjoyable story to end this season on. I have a lot of fun with it. I think it does some really interesting things. I like this discussion of environmental stuff. I think that's handled well. And I enjoy the Third Doctor and Jo Grant in their final story together. I think that it is just really fun to watch this one. It's definitely overall weaker than a lot of this season because I think that throughout it, it's mostly just solid stuff. Nothing as fun as stories like Carnival of Monsters, but still just enjoyable to watch. I think what makes this one just that little bit better than what's below it is the ending. I think the ending is really, really good, and it does a lot for this story because throughout it, it's entertaining, it's enjoyable, it's fun to watch. The Brigadier is in here, the Doctor's in here, Jo is in here. There's a odd villain which doesn't totally work for me, but is at the very least interesting. I mean, there's not a whole lot new. It is a relatively similar unit story to what we've seen before, but that dramatic ending is absolutely what makes this one what it is, because just seeing Jo Grant stay there as the Doctor travels off into the night, I mean, what a beautiful moment for the show, because, I mean, I love the dynamic between those two, and that exit is just, oh, it's so good. It is one of the best ones we've had so far, and I do quite enjoy the story, even though it's not as fun as the stories higher on this list.
Where's the other bloke?
Oh, the poor boy is taken very sick. Something he ate, his ma'am said.
Who are you then?
Me, I'm his da.
The Three Doctors. This is the first team-up of multiple Doctors, and it's a lot of fun. I mean, you know, it's not incredible, it's not amazing, it doesn't do anything that different, but because we've never seen a multi-Doctor story before, that makes it feel unique, you know? I mean, the story is relatively similar to stuff we've seen before, but it does enough different. I mean, it goes to a different location. Unit is there, but at least we have these other new elements that feel fresh with these multiple Doctors coming together, and I like the way that certain characters are split off with one another in ways that are just a lot of fun. The pairings of different characters is really great to see on screen, and I love whenever the second and third Doctors are interacting. It's just great to watch play out. And the villain is also solid in here. Omega, pretty well handled. Not super intimidating, but a good character, and very different to most of the villains that you'll get in Doctor Who, where it's just, you know, a monster of the week a lot of the time. I quite liked Omega and his backstory and how that all tied into the Time Lord lore. It didn't seem like it was just the boring stuff thrown at you. It's like, no, this is why this character is the way he is, and why he wants revenge on the Time Lords. It all made sense to me and was really enjoyable to watch, mainly for the pairing of these different characters, and it was also nice to see William Hartnell in this one, even if he did have a limited appearance.
But I still don't see. Oh, use your intelligence. Who in the name of heaven was that?
I'm afraid you'd never believe me.
Carnival of Monsters is just a blast. I mean, 4 parts long, this one is fun, it keeps you interested, it keeps you engaged. You've got time loops, you're going to all these different places as they're traveling throughout the carnival. I mean, it's so much fun to watch that play out on screen. It does just the right amount of balancing between these two plot lines, and though you can kind of see where it's going early on, I think it's still well executed and just enjoyable to see how these different characters interact with one another and the places that the Doctor and Jo go to. It's not mind-blowing, it's not incredible, it doesn't do anything that new to what we've seen before, but everything that it does is handled really well, paced really well, just thoroughly entertaining, and most of all, it's fun. That's what I take away from this one, is I can sit down for just about an hour and a half and just have a good time. And it's mainly because our characters are so good. I just really like this one.
It's just an ordinary ship.
Appearances can be very deceiving, Joe. There's something wrong here.
We're still on Earth, aren't we?
No, that's impossible.
Don't you ever admit that you're wrong?
No, it's impossible too.
Planet of the Daleks. This was always going to be at the top of this list because I just thoroughly had a great time with this one. I think it does so much as you're going to all of these different locations throughout each episode. I feel like it takes just a basic Dalek premise, as you would have in, say, the Daleks, with the Thals and the main foe competing against one another and fighting. You've got that very simple dynamic, and then you have a bunch of elements thrown in here. I really like the first part with Jo just trying to fend for herself. That's so much fun to watch. It's one of the best parts of this episode, and I love seeing them try to infiltrate this Dalek place. That is thoroughly engaging and entertaining to watch. It's a really fun clash of these two different people, and throwing in this creature that is just invisible, that really added to it because you have this other element in here that you're not really sure about. And also having this one be 6 parts instead of, say, 7 parts like the Daleks, or even 12 parts like Daleks Master Plan, I think that helps to make this one just more condensed and make it flow better and make everything just work really well. I mean, you've had 6-part Dalek stories before, like obviously The Chase, Power of the Daleks, Dalek Invasion of Earth, but this is one of the best ones. And it also adds some new elements that you haven't really seen in other Dalek stories, and takes elements that you have seen and presents those in a unique and interesting way. So I think all of those things contribute to making this as good as it is. I know it's not going to be everybody's cup of tea, but I have a really great time watching this story, and I consider it to be one of Pertwee's best.
Shortly after entering the TARDIS, the Doctor fell into a deep coma. His respiration was very shallow, his skin icy to the touch.
And that's my ranking of Doctor Who Season 10. I'm sure your ranking is different, and I would love to know what it is. If you'll drop it down below, I will take a look, but only if you feel like doing so. And with that said, I do hope to see you around this upcoming Sunday for a review of The Time Warrior. Brand new season, brand new character, the final season for Jon Pertwee, and I really look forward to discussing all of Season 11 with you. And if you're not there for those reviews, that is absolutely fine, so long as you know that I appreciate your time here today. And with that said, thank you very much for watching. Take care, and have a lovely week.